Live.
Yeah, see it says live now. Let me just go check.
This is the actual link now. Yeah, it does say live.
Start recording.
Bro, can you
guys see my screen? Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Just mute there, bro, if you can.
I'm saying in terms of, do you see me or do you see my screen? Oh no, see, that's the problem. That's the problem. How about now? That's what I can't find a place to change the key.
You need to go to on OBS.
No, on YouTube. Yeah, I can't find a place to change the key. Oh, yeah, here's it. Oh no. I can't. It's not clickable. I have to stop. I have to end the stream. Huh? Yeah, I have to end the stream, eh? It's not clickable. Please delete the stream live. Dismiss. Yo, I can't delete the stream. You can't delete. What do you mean? What do you mean? Yo, no, I did mute. Yo, no, that is horrible. Yo, no. Yo. That's fucking horrible. Okay, but anyway, moving on. Yeah, it's funny. Okay, yeah, it's a completely new company.
Okay, so you gotta say if you go to studio, there's that like Wi-Fi looking button.
Yeah.
It says view live control room.
Yeah.
You go there, you'll check the key and stuff.
No, I got it. I got the key. I'm live again.
Right, go ahead.
Well, apparently it says I'm live again.
Nah, not on my side.
Yo, it's 4. Am I? I'm live again. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, we're seeing the two screens with the code editor.
Okay. So you can't see the code editor.
Yeah.
How about now?
Maybe start over here.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I see it.
What is it? Spotify.
Yeah.
Okay. It's live. Is it live?
Yeah, it's live.
Can you hear my can you hear me as well on the screen, or am I on mute?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can't edit the video while it's live.
Yo.
You started you saying yo, dude. Ah, fuck. I'm tired, bro. Take off his jacket. There's no other jackets.
Dude, that's the thumbnail, bro.
It's on me. It's on me taking off my jacket. Can you not change it or something?
I'm trying, dog.
So please change it. And I'm still live, yeah? Let's see. Okay.
Dude, mute us, bro. It's starting, eh?
Yeah, it's starting. Testing, 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2. Please confirm if you can hear me. Testing 1 2 1 2.
I don't know. I'm like you're on the phone with me, so I can hear you.
No, I'm trying to see if the sound is coming through. It does. Okay. Yeah. We'll just do this here. Okay, I think we're going to give it maybe like 5 minutes and then we'll begin. Is that on your side? Is there a background? If it's killing you, what imagine what it's doing to me. You can't change the thumbnail. Okay, we have 3 concurrent viewers. I think we're going to give it another 2 minutes, then we begin? Yo, the diesel one. Try and click that link and see the link you sent me. Let's see. Oh, shit. I'm gonna confirm now. At least, man. Yeah. Yo, it's me taking off my jacket. Yeah. Okay, so we still have. Mhm. Okay, I see it's been removed. The video has been removed by the uploader. What's up, guys? We're just gonna give it another 5 minutes before we begin. Yo, like, listen, the video's done, right? When you click the link. It's not the same one. I think we will send out the. We're still gonna have it on YouTube because no one can access it now. Only one person on the YouTube chat. So this is a new person that access it. So I'm just like, I'm not gonna share 2 days of those 7 things and then come and change it to YouTube. I'm sticking with YouTube. Okay. It's fine. It's fine. Because you can stick with YouTube. So you're saying what? Send the link. Okay. Oh, cool. No, sure. Yeah, okay, look at that. Where is it? It's off the line. Did you delete the other one? Did you delete the other video? Or these ones? The ones you attacked? Okay, there's only one person. Let's see. Is it? How many people are? What's up, guys? We are going to begin very soon. We are just awaiting a few more participants. We do apologize for the delay. We've just been having technical difficulties today. So please, just bear with us. We will begin very, very shortly. Can you guys all hear me? Oh, everyone who's live, can everyone who is in the chat hear me? Again, we do apologize for the delay. Okay. There's some noisy background noise. Okay, let me just try and sort out the noise. I think my mic's very sensitive. Let me just try and sort out all the noise. Okay, I tried to sort out the noise, guys. I hope it will not be a problem anymore. But if it's still persistent, please just let me know. I'm excited to begin. So I think we're actually gonna start. I'm gonna start with the introduction in the time being, as we wait for the other participants to hop on. The main problem I think was that we just had a little issues with the link, guys. So we do apologize for that, but the show must go on. Okay, cool. My name's Kopano. I am one of the co-founders at Spanify. I'm a software engineer by trade, and I'm the CEO of Qubit Engineering as well. And basically, we brought forward this webinar as we saw that a lot of software developers struggle with building backends in systems. Since our day-to-day interactions is with software, we saw that developers are really struggling with building backends for their applications. Hence why we decided to have this webinar. The main goal is, I guess, to have you guys proficient, to have the entry-level knowledge to be able to create a Firebase project and attach a backend to your mobile or web type applications. So as I go, you guys are going to see it's quite simple. It's quite straightforward. It's going to save you countless of hours and times. And I'm one of the strong advocates of Firebase. I've used it for all my projects, and it saved me countless of hours and hence time. So yeah, is everyone still with me? Okay, great. I am going to move on. Spanify basically, there's three of us. These are the other co-organizers, guys. There's Sponsini Magwaza and Lyth Brown. And together we are the founders of Spanify, where we aim to train developers in relevant industry knowledge or skills that have been made or put in demand by corporates, rather. So we actually go to corporates and get what is lacking, and thereafter we take those skills and develop workshops, webinars, and courses for you guys. For the most part, all of our courses are free. So we do hope you do enjoy this free session. So just a quick introduction about Spanify. Spanify, it's a challenge-based recruitment platform. Basically, it's where you can come to learn your skills and improve your skill set as a developer. Basically, what you do is you partake in certain challenges that have been set out by corporates. You learn, and as you learn, you get the opportunity to get recruited by these corporate companies. So, for example, at the end of this workshop, all participants will be getting a certificate. So we're looking forward to that. Sorry, you just have to submit a little challenge for you to get the certificate. But once you have, you can then use it when you're applying for jobs, etc., etc. So Spotify is quite simple, guys. You basically download the app. The app will be shared in the chat, and then thereafter you complete the challenge. So we will upload a Firebase challenge that you guys can complete. Once you've completed, you earn points, you earn certificates. Just excuse the spelling for certificate, but yeah, you earn points, you earn certificates, and hopefully you get recruited by recruiters. So it's basically gamifying the way we currently learn. Get certificates, get a job at the end of the day, and of course you have to get that money. You have to get that cash money at the end of the day. Yeah, that's basically how Spotify works. You compile, you complete challenges, you attend workshops, you earn points and certificates, and you get recruited at the end of the day, hopefully. Yeah, like I said, the link will be shared in the description. So please do follow us at Spotify. On LinkedIn, it's Spotify. YouTube, please follow us at Spotify.com. And yeah, guys, please do follow us on all social media platforms. We do post a lot of content. We do post other webinars. We do post workshops. The last one was a mobile development webinar. The one before that was a website development webinar. We host different hackathons. We host a whole lot of activities that we think that you guys will like. Basically, if you want to be a great dev, you have to get involved in the ecosystem, and we do bring you the content that is relevant to developers ecosystem. So yeah. So now that I got all the necessities out the way, yeah, I'm gonna actually begin, guys. Just from I don't know if you guys can post or just say something in the chats. How many of us here know what Firebase is? How many of us here know what Firebase is? Yeah, I'll just give a quick summary of what Firebase is. So Firebase is a NoSQL database that allows you to what do you call it? That allows you to get all your data in real time without having to apply a backend, right? So Firebase was introduced around 2014. It was developed by two American developers, if I'm not mistaken. It was acquired by Google, and thereafter they've been adding a lot of other product offerings to it, expanding it, and making it just your one-stop shop for mobile app development. So predominantly at the start, it was created as a mobile app development backend, but as time progressed, it's branched out into different types of technologies, IoT, web, just a whole type of different technologies. So the main problem is, I don't know how many developers we have here, but having a centralized database from different backend sources is very tedious and difficult to build. So what I mean by this is, imagine you have three applications, right? Which is very common. You have an iOS application, an Android application, and a web application, for example. It is very difficult to maintain all three backends for all three applications. So common practice would be you'd have to first develop an API, one application programmable interface, and then interface this API with all three of your applications. And bear in mind, it's very difficult in terms of synchronization as well. So this is the problem that developers were facing, that I have three applications and I have to design a backend for each and every one, and I have to create an API that's able to interface with all these backends, and then this API is connected to an external server. So all of this whole process could take a good year for a good application. You'd need, for example, 2 backend developers. You'd need an SQL developer. You'd need a REST API developer, just to execute very, very simple tasks. So obviously, this proved to introduce a business case or a use case, and that's how Firebase basically was developed. Another problem that I've seen as well, initially in the early days, is that authentication and hosting was also very tedious to do, especially if in the event that I wanted to have different types of user privileges for each application. It is very difficult to handle that. You had to build a whole authentication server that's able to authenticate tokens, and it was just a nightmare. So those are the three main problems that Firebase tries to address: is different stacks, integrating with one platform, syncing data is also very difficult across all three platforms, and authentication of users and privilege levels is also quite difficult. Guys, if you're still with me, please just give me a thumbs up in the chats. If you're still with me, please give me a thumbs up in the chats. I hope you understand the problem at hand. So let's just move on. So why would you want to go with Firebase? I mean, this is a very valid question, right? Why would someone want to go with Firebase? I mean, I did introduce the problems, that I haven't necessarily explained what the solution is, right? So basically, Firebase allows you to deploy quicker. You can save. Oh no, the slides aren't changing. Is it? Okay. Apparently, my slides aren't changing. Guys, I'm just a little confused. Are my slides changing as I progress? Let's see. Are my slides changing as I progress, or am I still on the same page? Okay, there we go. Let's see. Okay, so I did touch upon that. I did touch upon this. So, guys, I don't. In the chats, people are saying my slides aren't changing. So I'm just a little worried about that. But anyway, if you guys didn't see them, see them, it's fine. Here, I'll just touch upon them again quickly. Yeah, is that better? Can you guys now see my slides change? Okay, great. I'm gonna assume you can. So there's a little bit of a delay with YouTube, guys. So it does take me a while to notice that something is wrong. But yeah, please. Thank you for letting me know, I guess. Cool. So let's just move on to the slide I was on. As I was saying, that this is the problem at hand. The stack, the syncing of data, and the authentication. Right. So I did just touch upon that. Why do you want to go with Firebase? So, as I was saying, there's three main reasons why someone would want to go with Firebase. One of them would be to deploy quicker. So you can actually take your time. So, for example, if development time was a year, right, through the traditional means of developing an API and a fully integrated backend, with Firebase, you're looking to save at minimum 80% of that time. You can literally deploy an app. You can, if you completely understand your database schema and your the way your state management works, you can have a fully running application from Friday to Monday. And this is something I've done countless of times, and hence why I'm such a big fan of it again. So being the ability to deploy quicker it saves you so much time, guys. And as you know, as software developers or aspiring software developers, your time is your money. So the more time you can save, the more money you can make. Access to authentication. So this is also a big one. Accessing authentication has always been a nightmare in terms of, like I was saying, what do you call it? Making sure that you're dealing with the right. Sorry, guys, if I'm repeating what I said. People were complaining about the slides, so I'm just going to run through the slides a little quicker. But yeah, again, access to authentication, being able to identify who's making use of an application, when, what time, are they verified? That is also very difficult. Recording valuable insights as well. So I didn't touch upon this point. This is also something that I'm excited to show you guys. So Firebase allows you to record all these nitty little metrics that would become very hard for you to record or make if you're going to do it manually, or if you're going to do it boilerplate. So it allows you to record, for example, how many users have made use of your application, when have they made use of your application, when was the last time your application crashed, why did it crash. So it's integrated basically with what's called A testing, but we will touch upon it on this as we go along the slides. Cool. Great. Guys, is everyone still with me? Do we have any questions that I can touch upon? Again, there's just a little bit of a delay. So I am going to move forward, but as I see the questions pop up in the chats, I will come back and just answer them. But in the meantime, as I was saying, Firebase is basically a back-end service that allows you to automate mundane, difficult tasks such as state management, storage, and authentication. So what we mean by state management is, if, for example, I have a value, I have a user, right? And my user sends or creates a profile and is now marked as active, Firebase will notify me on the back end that a particular value has changed. And once it notifies me, I can then, on the client side, decide what I want to do with that information, right? So basically, that's what I mean when I say state management. By storage, what we mean is that we now don't have to go. Let's say now we have files, right? User files. Let's say we create a WhatsApp, an application like WhatsApp, where I have to deal with a lot of user files. I don't now have to go use Amazon or use IBM Cloud or all the other storage providers. Everything is integrated in Firebase. All my storage I can put there. All my storage, any file I want to store, I can actually store it within that same server. So now I don't need multiple servers. I just need a Firebase. I just need Firebase, integrate Firebase in my application, and I'm good to go. So yeah, cool. Just another important aspect, guys. So with Firebase, there's two main databases that they have. They have the Cloud Firestore and the real-time database. In this presentation, we're going to deal with the real-time database, but it is being deprecated. But it's good. It's good to learn before you move on to the Cloud Firestore, so you understand the core differences between the two. But Cloud Firestore now is becoming slowly the norm. But for this presentation, we're going to deal with the real-time database, as we want to build a solid foundation before we move on to a little bit more advanced concepts. It is, once you understand real-time database, you'll understand Cloud Firestore. I will explain the difference as I do go along. So this is a great diagram basically that explains exactly how, or the analogy I was using. So originally you'd have like a client apps. So by client apps, we could have several applications, right? We could have 10 applications. We could have a Windows application, an IoT hardware application, an iOS app, an Android app, just different, a web app, just a whole lot of different types of technologies. And all these different technologies, say for example, now they needed to share one database, right? So what I would have to do is I would have to create an API, right? An HTTP REST API or SOAP API. And then my SOAP API would have to go get the data from my server, right? And communicate with the relevant SDKs, and then return my data back. So originally, this is how I would have to build a back-end server, right? And each one of these things would have a component to it. So like, for example, a client app. I need a person who specializes in client, in Android app development, iOS development. I would need someone who understands SQL, who understands PHP, who understands REST. I'd need someone who understands the different types of technology in terms of the infrastructure of each server, be it MongoDB or whatever it might be. I would need people to understand that. So the cost of an application would skyrocket just because of this simple prerequisite. So now with Firebase, what it introduces or what it allows us to do is, so this basically doesn't change. We still have our multiple apps, but now we have one integrated SDK for each application. So for Android, we'll have an SDK we can apply. For iOS, we'll have an SDK we can apply. And then this SDK will allow us to communicate straight with Firebase without us having to now go and develop an API to first communicate with the server. So this saves us countless of time. So these are our several components of Firebase. This is each one of these, I believe, deserves a lesson on its own. So I'm just gonna run through them quickly. Again, guys, if you do have any questions, So anyway, so as I was saying, we have the real-time database. This is the scope of work we will be covering. The real-time database basically allows us to sync information very easily. By syncing information, what I mean is that it's a real. I'm going to explain it. In the next slide, but basically it's a NoSQL JSON database that updates us in real time. We have authentication as well. By authentication, we're able to use different social media providers. So we can use Facebook, LinkedIn, Gmail, Twitter, GitHub, and use this to actually sign into our applications. So for this to achieve this, it uses what's called OAuth. So OAuth is just a different type of security that allows us to integrate with different social providers and allow us to log in to applications using those particular APIs, I guess. So I don't know if you guys have seen how the majority of apps now have sign in with Gmail, sign in with Twitter, sign in with Google, sign in with Firebase allows us to do that as well, and it's quite simple. We have storage as well, as I mentioned. So you can look at it as if anyone's ever dealt with Amazon Web Services, you can look at storage as a bucket. So basically, a bucket is where we store all our information, store all our files, store all our app data, basically, online. And then we actually have access to this across our multiple applications. And it's very, very, very straightforward, as you'll see in the example I am going to show you. We have notifications as well. So once we've implemented Firebase, we can actually notify our users in real time by sending them real-time notifications. So for example, I can log into my Firebase platform, and every single person who has my app installed, I'll be able to send a message to them, or what's commonly referred to as a payload. I'll be able to send a payload to them, and they'll be able to view the particular message I have. And what's cool again is that we're actually able to see the analytics of how many people opened our notification, how many people read it, the bounce rate, and whatnot. So that's actually another cool feature we have that's available to us. Out the bat, we have AdWords available, so we can start monetizing our applications right off the bat. So AdWords is also quite useful, and if you implement Firebase, you will have access to AdWords. So basically, for those who don't know what AdWords is Google's way of allowing app developers to advertise on their apps and make revenue off their apps. So all those little banners you guys see on mainstream applications saying click here for a cell phone or what, and then usually at the bottom or at the top, that's someone who's applied AdWords. The rates aren't great, to tell you the truth. It's a story for another day, but the ad revenue isn't great. I think it's about $5 for every 1,000 views. Hence why I never recommend going the advertisement route on your applications. But it's there if you do want to make use of it. It's very easy to integrate. We have hosting as well. So we can actually very easily deploy our application on Firebase. So now instead of us having to go and have to look for another external provider to host our application, by hosting, I mean actually hosting if it's a web app, actually hosting the site. And we can do that on Firebase, and our app will actually be hosted and we can deploy on there. So we can have our we can have our server, we can have our actual application, all hosted under one cloud. Excuse me. Then you have test lab. So test lab is very cool. It just allows you. It's very self-explanatory. It allows you to test your application, and it has crash analytics. Every time your app crashes on a user's device, every time your app crashes on a user device, test lab will let you know the actual instance of when that application crashed, why it crashed, how come it. Which point it crashed, in what form did they use exactly, so you can go back and actually debug. I remember there was actually a time where we released an application and it was crashing on all Huawei phones. So the application, every Huawei phone that was running our application crashed, and we had no idea why, only to find that there's a certain hardware limitation that Huawei had that we would have never known if we didn't implement crash analytics or test lab, basically. Guys, is everyone still with me? Can I get a thumbs up in the chats? Are you guys excited? Have I explained the benefits of Firebase to you enough for you guys to actually want to learn it? So can I get a thumbs up if you guys are excited to get into it and actually learn what Firebase is all about? So I'll assume you guys are sending thumbs up. I'll just continue in the meantime. So let's get into how Firebase works. Firebase uses a no SQL approach, meaning data is not stored on SQL tables or relational databases. So before I even move on with that particular point, a no SQL approach basically means either you're going the JSON route or you're going the object-oriented database route. So when I say no SQL, I basically mean having a back-end server without necessarily comprehending or understanding SQL or relational databases. I don't know how many guys of you have dealt with SQL, but it isn't. Look, it's an easy language, but it is a nightmare in terms of structuring your tables and unique key, foreign keys, and all this. So implementing a NoSQL database can save us a lot of time. But then again, it does come with its drawbacks, which we will get into a little bit. So the way Firebase basically works is that instead of the data being stored on tables, it is actually stored on what's called JSON. So JSON basically stands for JavaScript Object Notation. How many of you guys have heard of this term before, of JSON? For those who have seen it, it is used quite intensively, especially in APIs. JSON is a beautiful, very simple to understand. I don't want to call it a language. What can I call it? I want a framework. I don't know, but it is a very straightforward language. And I think once we get into it, you'll actually see how much simpler it is. I hope you guys just understand what a NoSQL approach means and what JSON means. So, oh no, I think my slides aren't changing again. Oh, my slides aren't changing again. Okay, let's see. My slides aren't changing again. Yeah, I think my slides aren't changing. Let's give it a moment. Let's see. Okay. Sorry guys, I don't think my slides are changing. Let's see. Guys, on your side, are my slides changing, or is it still stuck on the Firebase Components page? Let's see. Okay, there we go. There we go. So my slides weren't changing, but luckily we did not miss much. Basically, we just missed this this page. where I was explaining what NoSQL means and the difference between a relational database and what JSON is. So yeah, let us move on. So this is an example of the way a JSON file is structured. By this I mean this is how the actual JSON file is stored on our Firebase database. So for those who've dealt with OOP, object-oriented programming, they'll know exactly what I mean. So for example, the hierarchy here would be, I have a profile, right? And inside my profile, I have a name, right? I have an email address and I have an address, and I have an object called verified. So JSON is separated by semicolons, and I don't know what these quickly colons are called, and these types of colons. So the way you do it is you'd first, firstly, guys, you don't have to worry about this, right? Firebase takes care of all of this for you, but we do want to understand the backbone of what's going on in the backend, right? So like I was saying, the way it's structured is that you would have your object parameter. So let's say, for example, it's profile. Whenever you see this, it means that this is another object, right? Inside an object. Curly brackets, yes. Curly brackets, yes. My bad. Curly brackets. But yeah, so you'd open, you'd have the name of your object parameter, and you'd have your value. So if I have my value here, this basically means that this object parameter is a string, right? If I have this here as well, it basically just means it's a string. So this is the value that will be actually stored in my database. So it's always name of my parameter, value of my parameter. Name of my parameter, value of my parameter. If I have these curly brackets, it just means it's an object. It's a nested object, basically. Then I have, like, for example, the name of the parameter you verified. So if there's no curly brackets, it simply means that it's a Boolean value. Or if not a Boolean value, it can also be an integer or a double, right? So yeah, this is the basic structure of how a NoSQL JSON database looks like. So again, do not worry too much about this. Firebase will take care of this. You don't necessarily have to understand how this works, because basically it serializes all objects when you send them to Firebase, and this is done in the backend. But there is a certain way you have to structure your objects before they're able to be sent to Firebase. For one example, so a quick pro tip: if you are to implement a Firebase backend in your project, try and avoid declaring your objects. Well, you try and avoid declaring your objects private, unless you have getters and setters, right? Or else you might get an error of it's some type of some permission error. So you just want to avoid that. But besides for that, we should be good to go. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Steps 2. Okay, so I'm actually going to run you guys through creating an actual Firebase project in real time. And then we're actually going to take the steps by steps to actually see how it's done. But I'll just quickly run through the steps you need to follow, right? First, you have to create and have a Google account. This is a prerequisite. I think we all have Google accounts here, but that's the first prerequisite you need to have. And the second is then you have to create a Firebase account. That's also quite straightforward, but I will show you guys. Once you create a Google account, you have to link it to your Firebase account. Very, very straightforward. I'll show you how to do that. Then we create a project. When we create a project, we have to select which account do we want to link the particular Firebase project with. So if I have a Gmail account, like for example, I got my name is Kopano. So if if I want to link a Firebase project to Copano, I have to say which particular Gmail account I want to link it to. I have like 5 of them, right? I have Copano M, Copano Gmail, Copano Qubit, Copano Splendify, and I can create Firebase projects for all of these email accounts. So when creating my account, my Firebase account, I just have to make sure I correctly link it with the correct account that I want to use. Another pro tip, you want to make sure you want to make sure that you always keep your projects in one particular project, just for ease of use. If you have multiple Gmail accounts, you don't want to come to a point where you have all your projects in different places. So always try and use one account. If you want to create another Gmail account separate, 100% just for your Firebase projects, right? I would actually recommend that. You can also collaborate with other people who have access to your database. So just keep that in mind. Once you've created your project, what you have to do is you have to download what's called it's the Google Services JSON file, right? And basically this tells your app exactly how to handle the request. It has your API ID. It has all the different types of projects you have in your database as well. It has your permission levels. But again, guys, I will show you all of this. So let's see. Actually, let's do this. Let's see. So I'm going to try. I'm going to try and actually open up I'm going to try and open up Firebase. Guys, just give me one moment, this thing of trying to share my screen is proving to be quite tedious. There we go. Guys, so if you keep on seeing these flashes in black and white, it's me trying to change my screen. So just be wary of that. I am struggling a little bit to change my screens. So it's not that I left or it's crashed. It's the software program I'm using is it's this is why we pay for software, I guess. Okay. So let's try and actually create a Firebase project, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another account. I'm going to try and sign into my I'm going to try and sign into my actual Firebase account, right? So first step, guys, sign into your Google account. If you don't have a Google account, I don't know what we can do for you, but you have to have a Google account. Once you've signed up for your Google account, what you then want to do is go to firebase.google.com, right? Firebase.google.com. Thereafter, you should be introduced to this option, right? You can click go to console straight ahead, but just make sure you're working on the right account, right? So in my case, I'm going to work on my account or my project, right? Then I'm going to click on go to console right here at the top right, right? And then it takes you to this dashboard. So this dashboard is basically where all your projects are stored. So for example, these are all the projects I've created over time. These are all the projects I've created over time. These are actual live projects, and as you can see, I have 34 more we can actually scroll to. So I do, like I'm saying, I do make extensive use of Firebase. These are all past apps that I've created for clients and whatnot. I'll try and show you guys how a database actually looks like as well. So then what you want to do is you want to click add project, right? Once you've clicked add project, it's going to ask you to enter a project name. So the name of a project doesn't necessarily matter. It doesn't have to be anything out of the ordinary. So I'm just going to say Firebase Workshop. Right? Try and keep it one word, right? If you can, try and keep it one word. Look, you don't have to. You really don't have to. But for me, it's just common practice to have my projects all in one word and separated by a hyphen. Thereafter, you're going to click continue. And then it's going to ask you for different things that you want to actually add into your project, right? It's going to ask you, do you want to add A/B testing? Do you want to add user segmentation? So actually I'm lying. This all comes standard with your Firebase project. So if I'm to disable this, then I won't get any of these additional features. So you might ask, why would I not want to have all these cool features that I might have here? So all these little things, they take space, right? And by space, I mean what I mean by space is that it basically makes my application bigger. So in the event that I'm developing a mobile application, my payload of my application will be bigger. So always use what you're going to need. So in the event that you know for a fact, which I don't recommend, but if you know for a fact you're not going to use A/B testing, if you know for a fact you're not going to use crash-free users, event-based cloud functions, free unlimited reporting, like all these things, then it's fine. You don't have to add analytics to your project. But if at any point in time you are going to make use of this, I strongly recommend you do tick this box, right? And I did quickly explain what these things are. I'll just run through them again. A/B testing. So A/B testing allows us to have, let's say we have an application, right? And we actually want to test. So let's say I have an application and I make a change to it, right? Like I change the color of the logo, for example. So in theory, I don't know if you guys know, but certain colors invoke certain emotions from people. So now with A/B testing, it allows me to release the same applications with a slight deviation or difference, right? And then I can launch both of these applications. And then I'm actually able to see which one gets the most uptake or which one is most popular. So then I can see like, oh, I'm actually getting more downloads, or I'm actually getting more clicks in my app when the color of this button is blue. And then thereafter, I can consolidate that and run with the blue thing. So that's what A/B testing allows us to do. It's basically just experimenting with different functions. We have crash-free users. So this is Crash Analytics. I love Crash Analytics, guys. It basically helps us understand why our app crashes on certain phones. Because as a developer, your app will crash. Don't get that twisted. Your app will crash, and you need to know why. Bear in mind, with Android, there's over 3,000 devices that have been released, different types of devices, and all these devices act differently. So initially, there was no consolidated way for us to actually find out what the problem was. How do I know if my app crashed on some Sony Ericsson in India or in Pakistan that someone's using? I wouldn't know that if the user didn't report that. But with Crash Analytics, it allows us to actually get the feedback of why our application crashed, like it's a memory dump. User segmentation, we have event-based cloud functions triggers. So when certain events happen, certain code gets executed. We have unlimited reporting. So basically, this is things like there's a lot of things you have access to in terms of recording, downloads, all this. We have predicted user behavior. So this basically allows us to see certain trends before they actually happen. Again, I won't get too much into this, but as you can see, there's a whole lot of things we have available. The reason why I'm explaining this, guys, is because no one explained this to me at a time. I had to find out what they are. So I just hope I shortened you guys' development time by actually knowing what these are. Cool. So we're gonna say we're gonna enable this. We're gonna click continue. Now we come to configure Google Analytics. Guys, just another thing I just want to say, right? if I'm moving too slow, it's because I'm assuming you guys haven't necessarily dealt with Firebase before, and hence the reason why I'm moving so not slow, but I'm trying to be very in depth. So please bear with me. I'm assuming that there's someone out there who's never heard of Firebase and doesn't understand what it does. So yeah, cool. Can I get a thumbs up, guys, if you all are still with me? Please respond if you guys are all still with me. Are we still awake? Are we still excited? Am I moving too fast? Am I moving too slow? Please let me know. Okay, so anyway, the next thing we want to do is we're going to click on select account, and now we're going to be introduced to two options, right? Default account for Firebase, or this is another Firebase database I have. So in my instance, I'm going to click default account for Firebase, right? All my reports and whatnot are going to be sent to this account. Then I click create project. So this is a 5 to 10 second process, so give it time, depending on your internet connection. You just want to give it time. Let's just give it time. So basically, it's creating our database, it's creating our analytics. It is, yeah, it's creating the backend to the server. Let's just give it time. Cool. So we click continue. It refreshes, and we should then now see our project, right? So the way we know if we executed our project correctly is we should see the name of it here, right? So if you don't see the name here, you did something very wrong. Yeah. So guys, this is the Firebase panel. I don't want you guys now to get overwhelmed. I am going to explain each and every single thing here, what they do. The ones that aren't important, I'll just, I don't want to say rush through them, but I will just skim through them quickly. So yeah, let's get into it. So this is your main screen that you see. This is where now I'm able to add different applications to my backend. So I'm able to add an iOS app, as many iOS apps as I want. So if I have 10 iOS apps that needs to make reference of the same database, I would make use of it here. If I wanted to add an iOS app, if I wanted to add an Android app, I'd click here. If I wanted to add for the web, I'd click here. If I wanted to add Unity, I'd click here. So this is what I mean by we consolidate our applications and are able to actually store all our information on one backend. When you scroll down, you have these options that you see. So these are basically the same options that are here. So you don't have to worry about them. You can either come here or you can play around here. It's all up to you. So let's click on. So this is the part you're going to be making use of the most. And guys, don't get overwhelmed. We can just actually, let's close these other things for now. I know it's very daunting at the start. I know. I've been through it. But anyway, so we're going to first focus on develop. By develop, we want to click on authentication. And then we're going to be shown the screen. So this is totally, it's not a prerequisite, but it is recommended that you understand the authentication tab and what it does, but you do not need to know the authentication tab. I'll explain now and you'll see what I mean. So authentication allows us to set up sign-in methods for our applications. So if our app makes use of any form of registration or logging in flow, or forget password flow, then we will need an authentication method, right? And Firebase does allow us to take care of that. So when dealing with authentication, and you want to add, say, for example, a Gmail, sign in with Gmail, you'd click up, set up sign method, right? And then it will bring you to this screen. So now if in my application, I want to make use of an email password functionality, or sign in with cell phone, or sign in with Facebook, or sign in with Twitter, sign in with GitHub. As you can see, I have a lot of options I have available here. I will then come to the pencil box here. I'll click on it, and I will then click this enable button here and click save. and then my Firebase project will be configured for me to allow Gmail integration to work for it. Look, we're not, as soon as you click tick, don't expect it to just work. You're not done. We still do have to implement some backend. There's about 10 lines you literally have to add to your project to be able to sign in via Gmail and Facebook and whatnot. So the one I always do just out of the hand is the email/password, right? So we always just want to do that, enable that. And then it asks us allow users to sign up using the email address and password. So yes, I enable that. Then there's this little function here that says email link passwordless sign in. So I leave this empty at default, but what this basically allows us to do is that it will, in the event that a user signing up on my application, if this is enabled, it will send them a link to their preferred email address. Once they've clicked that link, it will then sign them up automatically into our application. We don't have to worry about OAuth or tokens or validating tokens. All that will be taken care for us in the back end. So we can literally implement a sign-in flow with 10 lines of code. But again, that will be covered. Thereafter, I click save. And yeah. So by default, I just like doing this. Again, you don't need to do this, but most applications do make use of an email password functionality. Then you have phone. Phone basically allows you to sign in via selfie. You do get, don't quote me on this, but I think you do get 1,000. I think it's 1,000 SMSs, but I'm not 100% sure. And then thereafter, you do have to pay Firebase. So we will also just cover how much what kind of storage or capacity you have to use for free before you start getting charged. So phone, like I said, allows the user to sign in via an OTP. We'll cover this a little later. You have Google. This is Google sign in. Basically, if I want my user to be able to sign in via Google, this is the option I have. Pro tip, guys, when you enable this, you have to add what's called an SHA-1 fingerprint to Firebase. So an SHA-1 fingerprint is a unique key that only your laptop has, right? And we'll, if we don't cover this in this particular webinar, there will be a point in time when we do cover it. But yeah, we have Play Games. I'm not going to explain that. We have Facebook. I'm just going to rush, guys. We have Facebook. We have Twitter, GitHub, Yahoo, Microsoft, and Apple. Basically, same process. Then we have database. Let me just rush, guys. I'm going to try and keep this webinar short. But then we have database. So database is where you actually create your actual database. You have Cloud Firestore, right? Which is the new norm, I guess, that Firebase is trying to migrate to. It does offer significant benefits, especially in terms of querying. So one drawback of a NoSQL database has always been querying. SQL has the advantage of actually being able to query certain data very powerfully, but when we deal with a NoSQL database or a JSON database, querying becomes very difficult for us. So that's what Cloud Firestore does. We're not gonna do this today. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use the real-time database. So what I want you guys to do is click Create Database. Then it's gonna ask you two questions: start in lock mode or start in test mode. Right? I want to start in test mode. Test mode basically allows us to read and write to our database without any form of authentication. If I did start in locked mode, I would then have to implement the sign-in method that I had there in authentication. That thing I said, what we did, would then become a must. Once you're in test mode, click Enable. And just give it time, and it should create your database. So this is what you're gonna see, and basically, what's important here is this link, right? This link is very important. We're gonna use this for a lot of things. This is what we use to communicate with our database, but that's fine. Let's quickly rush through this. Then we have storage. Storage is where we can store all our related files. So we can look at this as like a drive. And this is, yeah, we have hosting. Hosting is where we deploy our application. We have functions. Functions is where we execute certain code. So whenever a prerequisite is achieved, certain code will be executed, right? So this is what this is. We're not going to deal with that too long. And then we have MLKit. This is the Firebase's machine learning arm of Firebase. So this allows us to solve, I don't know why they say common, but it allows us to solve complex problems using machine learning. So as you guys can see, Firebase is quite big, right? Do you guys understand now what all these panels here do, or have an idea of what each of them are for? Can I get a thumbs up? If everyone is still with me, can I get a thumbs up? If there's any questions, guys, please just say so in the chat, and I will try and cover them. In the meantime, I actually want to get started creating our Firebase project. We are running out of time. Let's see. Okay. So what I want you guys to do is go back to project overview, right? So as we see, we do have three main options available to us. We can add an iOS app, an Android app, or a web app, right? Or Unity app. So in this particular case, I am going to add an Android application, right? But you can add web, it's very similar. We can add iOS, it is very similar. But I'm going to add an Android application, right? If time allows, we will go back and add the others, but for now, we're going to add an Android app. So what we want to do is we want to click the Android, the middle button here, the Android button, and it's going to basically ask us for our package name, right? So when it asks us for our package name, what we want to add is the actual package name of our Android application. So for those who have what do you call it, Android Studio, please open it up. This is the time where we're actually going to open it up. So I'm just going to open up my Android Studio. And so I did this already, but I'm just going to show you guys. Just give me a second. I am trying to, let's see. I am trying to, okay, I don't know, for some reason it's not showing my IDE. Let's see. Okay, 1 second, guys. I'm just trying to sort out my IDE. Okay. Can you guys see my IDE? Let's see. Okay, I'm struggling just to showcase my IDE, guys. I don't know what's going on. Can you add a question that's come up is, can you add Firebase to an existing project? Okay, so this is a question that varies greatly. It varies in the terms of what are you trying to achieve. So let's say, for example, you don't necessarily want to, let's say a database has been designed for a particular project already, right? And you just are interested in, for example, the machine learning aspect of Firebase, or just the authentication aspect of Firebase, then yes, you still can add it, right? But now it doesn't always make sense to have a NoSQL database and a object and a SQL a relational database. So usually you have to pick a schema. It's called a schema. And then once you pick the schema, you stick to the particular schema you've chosen. But if you want to make use of other services that Firebase offers, yes, you can add it. There's absolutely no problem in doing something like that. It is actually common practice. A lot of people do. They do add it. Let's see. Okay, guys. I'm trying to. If my screen goes black now, don't be alarmed. Don't be alarmed if my screen goes black. I am trying to change my screen so we can add Firebase to our project. So don't be alarmed if my screen goes black. Let's see. Don't be alarmed. Don't be alarmed. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm really struggling to add this thing in. Okay. I'm really struggling to change my screen. So what I'm gonna try and do, let's just try it one more time. Let's just try this one more time. Capture one more time. Capture specific window. Let's just try this one more time. Okay. Guys, sorry for the wait. Like I said, I'm trying to share my Android Studio screen, but I am struggling. Okay. So what I'm gonna try and do, guys, is I'm gonna continue with the theoretical lesson, and then in the event that I get it up and running, I'm gonna upload a video for you guys to watch, basically, right? Like I said, I am struggling to change my windows, but anyway. So what we want to add right here is we need to add our package name. So by package name, what do I mean? Package name basically is our unique identifier to our project, right? So say you named your Android project com, this is also another common practice, com.example dot Spotify dot I don't know what dot whatever, right? So just make sure this package name is found. So it actually tells you where to find it as well. It's found in your build Gradle file, or what's called your main activity.java file. So do make sure you find it there. Thereafter, you go to your app nickname. This is now where you're gonna add the name of the app. This is completely optional. You can literally enter anything you want here. This is just to make it easier for you to read. So maybe in my case, I might say Spotify 2. And then it's going to ask you for your debug signing certificate SHA1, right? So your debug certificate is it's basically a unique identifier to each and every laptop or that's out there, right? You have a debug signing certificate and you have a release signing certificate. Your release signing certificate, you don't have to worry about that because when you upload your app to the Play Store, Google does take care of that. But for your debug signing certificate, you have to get it inside your Gradle project level settings, I think. So this is also optional. I can't stress this enough. If you want to make use of Gmail sign-in capabilities or Twitter or Facebook, you have to add a debug signing certificate. That's a prerequisite. But if you're only going to be making use of the common email sign-in, where you have a user has to enter the email and sign in like manually like that, then this isn't necessarily. So I'm going to leave this empty for now. Then I'm going to click register app. Once I've clicked register app, I'm going to get this file that's called a JSON file. I'm going to click download. Right? So this, we're going to actually open this JSON file and see what's inside it. Okay. Oh, I forget I can't change windows. Let's see. Why can't I change windows? Let's see. Let's see. Capture specific window. I'm just trying to change windows. Let's see. Okay. Okay. I don't know why my screen keeps on doing that. But anyway, guys, I'm just gonna have to continue. Once you've downloaded the JSON file, we're actually gonna put this inside our app build Gradle file, right? So that you can find this in your Android file, and then once you've added it there, your app then in theory should be halfway to connecting it to Firebase. Thereafter you click next, right? Once you click next, you're going to see all these several settings. So I don't want you guys to get alarmed. These settings are also quite straightforward. They're quite easy to understand. What you want to do is you want to go to your project level build Gradle file, right, in your Android project. So you find this underneath your main project, right? And you have to add these two lines, Google and your class path and your dependencies. So make sure that this is always the latest version. So if you come back in 3 months' time, you would have seen that this it probably would have changed to 4.3.9 or something along those lines. So always make sure you use the latest version so you have the latest updates and whatnot. So the two things you do have to copy is this, but usually this is there by default. But if it's not, just check and add that to your project level build Gradle. You have to add this to your dependencies, the Google services, and you have to add this Google to all projects in your repo, right? Once you've done that, you have to go to your app level build Gradle. Once you've gone to your app level build Gradle, there's these two lines you have to add at the top. You will see them when you open your app level build Gradle. So the build Gradle it's found inside your app folder, right? And then you have to add these two lines. This one, the likelihood is it's already there. The one you do have to add is the Google services. So this line allows us to integrate with this file that we will be adding as well. Oh, so guys, sorry, I don't think I explained. This particular file that we downloaded in the previous step, right? We actually want to put it in the app folder in our Android project. We want to put it in the app folder of our Android project. Then we want to add this implementation to the dependencies of our app level Gradle, right? That's also quite straightforward. Take the analytics, this analytics file implementation, and put it inside your dependencies. Once you've done that, so let's just rerun through the steps quickly. We download our Google Services JSON file. We put it inside our app level project. Thereafter, we have to add these two lines, the class path, Google Services, that basically links this application. We have to add the Google project, the Google line as well. But again, this is most likely already added. Thereafter, you add your application plugin in the app level file, and you add your Google services in your app level. Once you've done that, click sync. So at the top of your page, you should be able to see a sync button, and then you just want to press that button basically. Cool. Thereafter, you'll see this page, guys, and this basically is checking if our app has communicated with Firebase, right? So it's going to do this for quite some time in my case. So we're going to say skip this step. And then thereafter, we should be able to, let's do this. We should be able to see our database. So there's two main ways now you can also make use of adding and deleting data, right? So we can actually add data manually to Firebase by, if you scroll here, you can see there's this little plus button, right? And we can actually add it and say user profiles. Guys, when dealing with naming, make sure that there's no spaces in between, right? Now let's say I want to add a user, right? I'll click here and I'll click user 1, and then maybe it should be Copa. No, click here, user 2, this would be Tabo, whoever, if there's a Tabo, etc, etc, etc. So, and then I click add. So basically my app is going to be able to do this programmatically, right? What I mean by programmatically is that I'm going to be able to create these users or add data to this particular database in my actual application, right? So I don't understand. I don't know if you guys comprehend, but this makes it very simple now for me to gain access to this entry. So now if I have an iOS app, I can read this value, I can edit this value, I can delete these values, all from one central server location, right? So let's say now, for example, we want to add food receipts. We'd say food, or just something random, you know. Let's say this is user data, menus, plus button, menu 1, and menu 1, let's say menu 1 now has data into it. It has an ID, it has a name, and it has a time, not a time, a price. Maybe this menu is menu 0, the name is meat menu, and the price is 120, right? Then I click add. So this now is available for my application to actually read, right? Now I can actually read this application, and I can read this information in my application. So guys, I did want to show you guys how I was actually going to implement this into code, but I am having technical difficulties. So what I am going to do is, luckily I have contingencies. I can just show you the theory quickly. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to re-upload this video where there's an actual practical example of how to actually add Firebase to your Android project. It's just that we are having some technical difficulties. Everything was working earlier on, but you know how these things are. So I am gonna just go back to the slides and just show you guys what I wanted to do via code, and then also I'll make these slides available for you guys to have, so you can refer back to them, and yeah. So let's just quickly. There's literally just 3 lines of code I want to show you. So when dealing with Firebase, we have what's called initialization, right? initialization is basically the process of initializing an object. I don't know how many of us here have done OOP, but whenever you deal with objects, you have to initialize them, right? So these two lines of code literally connect me to Firebase, basically. After I've implemented those steps, and I will release another video just showcasing them. But after I've done those previous steps, and I add these two lines of code to my project, I am connected to Firebase, and I can start sending commands and read certain data. So, for example, you say private database reference. Database reference is basically let me just show you guys. So, database reference is this line. So I'm invoking this line of code. I'm invoking this line, sorry, this value when I say database reference, right? Where does it get database reference? It will get it from this Google Services JSON file that I added to my project, right? Okay, cool. Thereafter, I get instance get reference, and then it gets that link. So now it knows which instance it's dealing with, right? And it's linked to my Google Services JSON file. So this is the web code. If I want to initialize to web, we're not going to focus on web today. So now let's say I want to write data. Guys, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Just bear with me so I can just finish. I think I have 2 more slides. But yeah. So now let's say I actually want to write data to Firebase, right? I would literally say m database, which is a object I created, this object here, right? .child, I put the URL, .child.user ID. So when I say .child, basically I'm saying new node. Child is basically saying open up a new node. So it's going to be users, and inside users, it's going to have another node called user ID. So user ID would be a value that I want to write. So for example, if I wanted to write 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or the ID of my user, I'd insert the value here. Then I'll click dot set value. What dot set value does, is it then writes an actual value that I want to write. So user would have a predefined value. Once I've done that, I'm done. I've written a value to my database. So this would be a function if you want to do nested writing, or you want to actually write objects. This is how you would handle it. Guys, I will make this available, and this is for web, by the way. This is for web, for JavaScript, so we're not going to get too much into this. Okay, reading is a little more difficult. It's not too difficult, but basically this is the lines of code you need to be able to read a value on Firebase. You need what's called a value event listener. A value event listener is an asynchronous object that detects any changes to our data, and it updates us in real time. It has 2 overridden methods, on data change here, and on cancelled. Basically, if the request fails. So if my data has changed, it will execute this particular function. If my value has been, if it, like for example, I provided a wrong reference, it will execute in this function. I'm going to just remember to add what's called the value event listener at the end. This is web. We're not going to touch into web. And guys, I'm going to end it here. I did want to end the talk at 5:30. So I'm going to end it here. Listen, I hope you guys learned a thing or two. Obviously, I did want us to touch on the practical aspects, but unfortunately, we did have technical difficulties. So I am going to release a video, and I will make it available for you guys to review. I'll go through the actual steps I was talking about again, where you can actually see a practical example of me actually adding a project. So again, this was just meant as a crash course, I guess, and I hope you guys learned a thing or two. I don't know if I have any questions. And like I said, guys, I'm just gonna reiterate this. I will upload a practical video. I think for the sake of time, I wanted you guys to also just understand the premises of Firebase and understand how it works. And once you actually log into the platform, I don't want you guys to get overwhelmed as I was overwhelmed when I first started. So I hope at least I was able to achieve that at the very least. And yeah, I don't know if I have any questions. The video will be released this coming week. I'm hoping by Friday we'll have the video up and running. We will send you guys emails just stating that we've uploaded the video. And guys, your certificates, the way you will get them is once you've passed the challenge that we will be sending out to you via email. And then once you've actually passed that challenge, you will get a certification. Then you can obviously use a certification to apply for jobs and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to seeing your guys' challenges, responses to the challenge, and seeing what you guys can build with Firebase. Guys, please download the app on Play Store. Just search Spotify on the Play Store, and you will see the application. And this is where we upload all our challenges and whatnot. So yeah, I'm gonna stay for another 10 minutes answering questions that you guys might have. Again, I hope you guys did learn a thing or two about Firebase and the power of it. Please, if there's any questions, please just leave them in the chats, and yeah, I will make sure I answer each and every one. Are we all good? Are we all good? Are we all good? Is everyone still fine? I think I'm gonna end it here, guys. Please contact us if you need any assistance, and we will be emailing you guys further details. Okay, sweet.